Hello drama nerds, welcome back. We start with Christine in bed next to someone. She gets up and grabs her clothes, then goes to the bathroom. One of the walls of the bathroom is covered with pictures of her and a man. She sees wire tape on her hand, then goes outside. Ben is waiting for her on the bed. He tells her that they got married 14 years ago and that she is 40 years old. While she is getting dressed, he explains that she was in a car accident 14 years ago, which left her with some injuries that she can't remember everything. She accumulates information throughout the day, and when she goes to bed, everything disappears, and when she wakes up, she thinks she is in her early 20s. He asks her to trust him, but she is scared. While making breakfast, he continues to tell her about their life together and their wedding. Before leaving for work, Ben shows her a list of things she might need and where to find them. She sees a note telling her to pack a bag. Ben tells her he will pick her up for their anniversary. Christina is alone trying to process everything when the phone rings. The voice on the other side is Dr. Nash, who is working with her on her memory. He tells her that Ben may not know she went to the doctor. He then tells her to go look for a shoebox in the back of the closet. Christina opens the shoebox and finds a camera inside. Nash tells her to turn it on. A recording of her where she talks about her memory problem. 2 weeks earlier, Christina is in the car with Dr. Nash, who admits that their professional relationship is a little unusual since he is picking her up from her home and seeing her without her husband's knowledge. Christina is scared and confused. They pull into the parking lot and he tells her how he found her 6 months ago. He explains that he is a neuropsychologist and that he is preparing a paper on the type of amnesia she has, so he was willing to do the work for free. As they start a walk to his office, Dr. Nash tells her that even though she did not remember who he was when he called the next day, she agreed to work with him anyway. Christina mentioned working with a psychologist to her husband, but he was adamantly against it because she had been in therapy in the past and it only upset her. In his office, he gives her a camera and tells her to keep a visual journal. Dr. Nash tells her that her injuries were from a brutal attack 10 years ago. They were caused by repeated blows to the head. She is confused because Ben told her a different story. The doctor shows her news articles about the attack, and she wonders why someone would try to kill her. He explains that no one really knows her part. As they leave, he tells her not to tell Ben about the camera, so that she does not feel constrained to share her thoughts and feelings. He tells her where to hide it, and that he will call her in the morning to remind her. She agrees to the plan. That night, while Ben makes cocoa for them, Christine goes to the bathroom to record the first entry in her video diary. She explains about her memories, and when she hears Ben approaching, she hastily hides the camera and goes to bed, pretending to be asleep already. Christine wakes up the next morning next to Ben. He pretends to still be asleep. They talk about her memories, his life, and her life. She does not understand what she has been doing all day and looks frustrated. Later, she is back in the car with the doctor, watching the video. Christine says that without the tapes, she would believe everything Ben tells her, like about the car crash. She wonders what else he is lying to her about. Dr. Nash says he can't risk calling her on her home phone. Christine tells him she doesn't want to be scared all the time and asks if the treatment he is planning for her will work. Dr. Nash explains that in rare cases, returning to the scene of an attack can help shake the memories, but the reason he goes there is to build trust with her. When they arrive at the industrial complex, they meet the caretaker. He takes them to the place where he found her and says she was naked, wearing only a sheet, and that she was covered in blood. Even then, she couldn't remember anything. Back in the car, she asks Nash what she was doing near the airport. He tells her there are a lot of hotels in the area and suggests that she may have been having an affair. The medical report indicates recent sexual intercourse. She asks him if she was promiscuous, but the doctor tells her the report suggests otherwise. Christine cannot believe that she could have been cheater. Later, she is in her bathroom, saying that she needs to remember what happened, no matter what she did. She hears the sounds of children playing and goes to check, but no one is outside. That night, she goes in to take a shower when Ben joins her and kissing her. As they begin to make love, she has a flashback of someone with a scar on their jaw. They fall asleep together, and Christine has a dream about the hotel room and her attack. The next day, Dr. Nash runs tests on Christine. He shows her photographs that she needs to identify. She looks at the photos and becomes upset, so she presses the panic button on the MRI. Later, they talk in the waiting room, and he tells her that some of the photos were random, while others were on her file. The The photo he shows her triggered a distinct reaction in her brain. Christine doesn't know who the woman in the photo is, even with Claire's name written on it. While having dinner with Ben that night, she asks him about Claire. Ben says he doesn't know her, and then asks why Christine is bringing it up. When she tells him she has a memory, he is moved by what she remembers. She mentions several things, mostly from the photo, and he tells her that it wasn't the first time she remembered Claire. Ben says that they were friends once, but that she moved away, and that it doesn't matter anymore. Christine insists that it does matter. Ben brings up a box of photos he keeps in his office. They are of her and Claire. She asks why he is hiding them from her, and Ben explains that he is doing it to protect her from the fact that her friend could not handle her situation. Christine asks him how she can trust him if he is hiding things from her, but Ben tells her that he can always handle anything. She later makes a new recording saying that Ben is hiding Claire from her, and that she cannot trust him. Afterwards, he sees that she has taped up the photos of Claire in the bathroom. Dr. Nash calls Christine and explains everything to her all over again. She watches the recording from the previous day, the one where she says not to trust Ben. She then zooms in, seeing that the photos that were there yesterday are now gone. She gets angry and starts looking through Ben's office to find something. She finds a clue that leads her to the photos. As she scrolls through them, she remembers Claire and how she told her she was pregnant. She rushes to check the photos in the bathroom and the photos in the albums, but there is no evidence that she could have had a baby. Christine checks her belly and sees stretch marks, then remembers a conversation with her son. She calls Ben to ask about the baby, and he immediately comes home. Christina is upset and wants to know where their baby is. Ben hugs her and tells her that their son has died. Once inside, he tells her that the baby died of meningitis before his 9th birthday. He takes out another box, which he hides from her so she won't stumble upon it alone, and shows her a picture of their son Adam as a baby. Christina cries, but she doesn't remember him when she looks through the pictures. She sees his birth certificate and a note in his handwriting. Ben takes the pictures, and later Christina makes another video in which she says that grief may not be new to Ben, but it is new to her, and it will be new every other day for the rest of her life. Christine has another nightmare about the man with the scar and her attack. She wakes up terrified, then looks at her notes about Adam and cries. Christine starts to take apart the wall of pictures in the bathroom. When she talks to Nash again, she asks if he knew about her son, and he tells her that they had talked about him before. She begins to think that maybe it is better if she does not find out about everything. Christine asks the therapist if they can just sit there for a while, then asks if she should tell Ben about therapy. That night, she and Ben talk about Adam again. She asks if she was a good mother before the accident. Ben says that she loved him very much, and she has a flashback of him for a moment. Christine says that she understands how hard it is for Ben to go through all this over and over again, but asks him not to hide his son from her anymore. He apologizes to her. That night, Christine has another nightmare. She is at a hotel and sees her son there. She finds a note with the name Mike on it, and then remembers the man with the scar again. Finally, she remembers parts of the attack. Christine wakes up and forgets everything again. Christine is driving somewhere with Dr. Nash in the car. When they stop, she tells him the name Mike, saying that he is the man who hurt her. The doctor reassures her and leans in to kiss her when he sees that his name is Mike. She remembers him hitting her in the hotel room, so she runs out of the car. He gets a syringe from the trunk and runs after her down a long pier, eventually catching up with her. Later, Christine is lying on the couch when her phone rings. She answers Dr. Nash's call, and he explains that he gave her a sedative to help her calm down but not to put her to sleep. She remembers. He tells her that she was confused and suffering from a fantasy about him, placing all her fears and suspicions on him. Before hanging up, he says he has learned something about Ben that he will have to explain to her in person. Ben comes over and they have dinner. He asks her who she was talking to on the phone when he tried to call her, and she lies, saying she called him. The next day, Christine listens to Dr. Nash explain how vulnerable patients like her can develop feelings for their psychiatrists. It is less common for psychiatrists to develop feelings for their patients. He says it is unprofessional. She thinks he is her only hope and that they are making progress when he tells her he will refer her to a colleague. Dr. Nash thinks it would be unethical to treat her any further. But he thinks she's making progress because she remembered to watch the tape before he called her that morning. He then tells her that he found out that Ben moved her from the shelter to a nursing home. The doctor managed to talk to the receptionist, who told him that her friend Claire had been trying to contact her. He gives her Claire's number. The receptionist also told Nash that Ben divorced her 4 years ago. Later, Christina calls Claire and leaves her a message saying that she really needs to talk to her. She goes to see Ben at work. When she asks if they are divorced, he gets angry, but she insists on the truth. Ben tells her that it is because of the death of their son. At first, he left her, but he came back and will never leave her again. That same day, Claire calls Christina. She remembers bits and pieces of her, as Claire tells her that she kept calling the nursing home where Christina was placed. She tells her that she misses her and wants to see her. They agree to meet at the observatory in an hour. Christina goes to Claire and waits for her on a bench. When Claire appears, Christina remembers her. They missed each other very much. Christina asks Claire if she was a good mother, and she says that she was great. Ben was also a good father. She asks her friend who did this to her. They get drinks, and Claire tells her that she was probably having an affair. She eventually confessed to her, but never gave her any details about the man. Claire apologizes to her for telling Ben, but she had to since she had already told the police. Christina thinks that this is why Ben never talks to her about anything, including her. Claire tells her that after the accident, she tried to help Ben, and they spent a lot of time together, eventually sleeping together. Because of this, she decided to stay away from him. Before she leaves, Christine gives her a note that Ben left for her with Claire if she was ever good enough to read and understand it. The letter explains his reasons for leaving her. In it, Ben says that the main reason was for the happiness and well-being of their son, who could no longer bear to see her like that. Christine finishes the letter when Ben comes to the house. She records a video of herself talking to Ben, telling him that by the time he sees the video, he will know everything, including that the only thing she feels for him is love. Christine later shows Ben the video she recorded for him and begins to tell him everything that has happened in the past weeks. She tells him about Dr. Nash, and he is angry that she hid it from him. When she tells him that she forgives him and loves him, he hits her. Christine calls Claire and tells her what happened to Ben. She says she will call him and call Christine back. Meanwhile, she records a video in which she says that he hit her. Claire calls her back and says that Ben lives alone and has not seen her for 4 years. She asks her to describe Ben to her. Their descriptions do not match. Claire tells her that Ben has a scar on his face and Christina has a flashback. The Ben she knows returns and she runs to the bathroom to check the photos to see if he has a scar. When she does not see any, Claire tells her that the man she lives with is not Ben. Suddenly, Christine notices that all the photos on the wall are faked. She begins to remember the attack and begs Claire to help her, but she cannot remember her address. Claire tells her to find out when Ben tries to get inside. She has another flashback to the attack and then opens the door. Ben is not there. Christine goes down the stairs and tries to leave through the front door, but finds it locked. She finds a key to the back door and leaves the house when Ben suddenly grabs her. Christine wakes up the next morning in her bed with Ben. She goes into the bathroom and sees the pictures, then comes out and sees him sitting on the bed telling her who he is. As he leaves, the doctor calls her and talks to her on camera. All she sees is the footage of her saying she loves Ben. Afterwards, she notices a bruise on her cheek. The phone rings, and this time it is Ben asking if everything is okay. He has her mobile, and Claire tries to get through to him. Ben reminds her to pack for their anniversary. She tells him she loves him. Later, Nash tries to call Christine when he is called away for a main appointment. Ben bumps into him and introduces himself. Nash asks how Christine is, and Ben tells him to stay away from her. That evening, Ben and Christine drive to a hotel near the airport. She asks if it is really their anniversary. He tells her it is not their wedding anniversary, but something else entirely. Christine does not understand why he brought her there. He gives her a glass of champagne and tells her he wants her to remember her attack. Suddenly, she remembers that he is really Mike. Christine asks where Ben is, and Mike tells her that her husband left her while he stayed behind. He took her out of a nursing home using fake papers, intending to take care of her. But now he is tired of lying and wants her to remember everything. Christine remembers the day of the attack and his threats to call her husband and then hit her. She realizes that he is the one who attacked her. He tells her that he hates himself for what happened and begs her not to leave. Christine is terrified because she remembers details from the night he attacked her. Mike continues to beg her not to leave, but then steps aside to see if she will leave, and when she does, he hits her again. He tells her that they will either leave together or not at all. He then begins deleting all of her camera footage and tells her that she is free to go. Mike tells her to kiss him, and she does so out of fear. He tells her that she should forget Ben and Adam because they have forgotten her. Christine realizes that Adam is not dead, and he begins to beat her again. She fights back, but he overpowers her and begins to choke her. Christine stabs him and tries to escape, but he simply grabs her again. She eventually subdues him and escapes the room, then sets off the fire alarm. Ambulances and police surround the hotel. Christine is in the back of an ambulance recording a new video explaining what happened to her. Later, Dr. Nash comes into her hospital room and wakes her up, telling her who he is. He tells her that he is there as her friend, not her doctor. Since she needs someone to take care of her, Claire will pick her up and take her home with her. He asks her if she remembers Claire. Christine replies that she does. Nash continues to talk to her, saying that Mike will go to prison for a long time for what he did to her. He then tells her that he has a visitor for her who could be a breakthrough in her treatment. Nash turns around and Ben, her real ex-husband, is standing at the door. Dr. Nash lets him into the room. He approaches her and tells her that he is her Ben and that he would never have stayed away if he knew she was in danger. He sits down and tells her about Adam. Ben says that they both love her very much. He goes out to pick up Adam. The boy comes in and approaches his mother. He introduces himself to her and she starts remembering something she told him when he was little. Christina finally remembers him. They hug and she says that he is her Adam.